I'm very excited about this panel because we have system shakers, troublemakers, hustlers, but actually people, for me, who I think we're going to have a really honest and strong conversation. The challenge is not to be good, but to be brilliant in our chat and not to be polite. So I'm going to start on to one of the people that I met 2.5 years ago when we did One Young World. So Adam Pearson, take it away. Tell us who you are, what you are, and where you are.
Hello, my name is Adam Pearson. I am a British presenter, actor, and disability rights campaigner hailing from sunny Croydon. I am a white male with dark hair, combed over. I'm wearing like a cracking red jumper. The next sale was really kind to me. And I've also got a Superman teddy bear in the background because I lost a bet to a friend recently. But hey, what can you do? Life is a lottery. Be lucky. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I am thoroughly excited to be here amongst such amazing company.
Ah, you're so nice. You say that to everyone. Keely Catwells, who inspired the clear glasses that I currently wear now as I dump my Edna the Incredible glasses. It's great to see you. We're partners in We the 15 campaign, so we see each other all the time, but I'm also a massive fan. Tell us who, what, why.
Thank you so much. It is such a joy to be here. My name is Keely, and I'm the CEO and founder of C Talent, which is a company that I founded when I became disabled and lost a job in Hollywood due to Hollywood's ableism. And we represent high-profile deaf and disabled talent such as Lachi, who is on the panel with us here today. And I am a white woman with long, rather messy blonde hair, wearing a dark green jacket, and behind me is kind of a studio setup because my husband's an actor and we are sharing an office right now. And I am just so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and very excited to know that I have inspired you with the glasses.
Oh yeah, I love them, seriously. I'm dumping the brown ones. Now coming on to Lachi, who it's my first time to meet, but it's an absolute joy to meet you. Yes. I have heard quite a bit about you through our team, so we are thrilled. And I believe you're not the quiet type. So yes, Queen, introduce yourself. Who, what, why, and where?
So my name is Lachi. I am not the quiet type. I'm also an expensive date. So
excellent.
All right, Lachi, she, her, black girl cornrows, brown shirt, glittery nails, makeup, and a cute smile. Right now, I am in my studio. I live in New York. Huge gratitude to the original inhabitants, the Lenape people. I am the co-chair of the Recording Artists Advocacy Committee here in New York. I am a disability inclusion advocate, founder of Ramped, Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities. We're trying to do in music what Valuable 500 is doing to major companies. I also do artsy stuff. So I'm a recording artist. I'm a songwriter, award-winning. So notch that on your belt. But I'm also an actress, and I identify as blind. Really excited for this conversation because I want to hear other loud movers, shakers, and patty cake bakers really throw down. Really excited.
Okay, that's a throwdown. So it's great to have you. Really great. So listen, we know why we're all here. Disability representation, you know, that recent Nelson report says it's up triple than what it was, but like it was minus. So like really, we ain't going to be clapping our hands on that one. We have one serious far way to go on getting the talent both behind and in front of the cameras. But the reason I'm kind of excited, I'm going to come to you first, Keely, because you had an Instagram post today, which I thought was amazing, you and your beautiful husband. And you were like, and so I'm running a company, 7-figure company. Hello, lady. So if we're going to talk about the business of representation, that's some achievement. You are not doing that very long. But if you consider what, like the whole debacle of witches and Anna Hathaway and everything else like that, come on, just tell us about the business behind what you're doing, about getting correct and proper representation. And it's not just in front of the camera, but it's behind it. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in C Talent and where you think we're going right and wrong.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I mean, it's so exciting that we're finally turning this conversation around from just disability consistently being looked at as charity. And obviously, we've still got a long way to go. I think that happens when we make this systemic change. And I think the reason why we saw the witches and we saw Sia's representation is because that systemic change is not there yet. I think if disability inclusion was rooted in the culture of these companies, these mistakes would not be happening. I think if we looked at disability inclusion and accessibility as a creative opportunity rather than a problem to be solved, then we would be thriving rather than incredibly disappointed by these massive companies who have big opportunity. And I genuinely think that's why we've done so well in a short amount of time, because we've taken a different approach. We've been doing things a different way. We've embedded what we do with integrity. We've got a disabled-led team. Everyone within our company is within the disability community. And I think that, you know, we have to add the accessibility side to this disability conversation, because without access, we can't have true inclusion. So we have to get rid of this tokenistic representation. We have to not just think that we're doing enough with one standalone training or just hiring one disabled person, because that's not enough and everyone can do better. I think that, you know, when that disability and access is a part of everything a company does, and it's weird if it wasn't, then we can get to a point of real change.
Yeah, because do you know what we really need to get away? We want to say that compliance is a dirty word. Like, I'm serious. Like, if we could get that to be a dirty word and people go, no, we're way more than compliance, we've got somewhere. One of the things that we are really excited about for phase 2, as I mentioned, representation is one of the pillars that we're working with our valuable 500 companies, okay? And we're working with Sony on our media hub, which is to get proper, beautiful, exciting, vibrant representation in front and behind the camera, because the thing our companies are saying to us, we don't have that bank of talent. We don't actually have that bank of imagery. We don't have it. So when I think and I look at you, Lachi, I'm going, you were doing a desk job, right? I presume something you were grand with. You didn't see somebody like you. You jacked it all in. And now the list of achievements, you have something like, you have hundreds of thousands of followers. And so you're a role model to what you wanted to see. And yet then, to Keely's point, but you also just a brilliant musician, surely, or a brilliant recording artist. So how do you walk that tightrope between inspiring and role model and savvy businesswoman and savvy artist?
Right. Well, when we talk about social media, I think the best thing about it is that more so than just being able to showcase what disability is at a massive scale, which we were not able to really do before, it's the connectivity. So something that the mainstream doesn't really know is that a lot of folks with disability just don't know each other. The connectivity just isn't there. And what social media has done was allowed for community to be built. And as that community builds, as people start to recognize, hey, there are other folks with disabilities, that in turn starts allowing for folks like myself and other influencers that Keely represents to step forward and say, hey, wow, look, I can be a shining beacon on the hill. One of the things that I found in my journey, though, is that pride in disability, just it's difficult to cultivate in the community. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when people look, when mainstream looks from the outside in, one of the reasons that there is that sort of charity phase is that I want to see more of this cultivation of disability pride. I want to see folks with disability standing in front of the disability and saying, hey, this is an identity, this is a culture. And that's what I try to cultivate to the community that I have built. Because I believe that once you start to recognize that disability is more than just what someone has, but it's who they are and it's how they can contribute to society, then you start to see that shift, that internal shift of ways that people see disability. You know, in my particular experience, you know, I like to show off my glam canes. I like to go in front of the camera and look sexy and fun and associate that with disability because, you know, when people say, oh, are you a musician that happens to be blind? Don't you want to put the music first and just like not have people pay you because, oh, you're blind and you have it and you're a musician? Actually, I'm not a musician who happens to be blind. I am a musician who identifies as blind. I am
Love.
blind first. I am Lachi first. I am woman first. I am Black first. And so I want people to address me in that manner. And I am so excited and proud that we're changing this conversation around for people to recognize that it is an identity and not just a thing that has happened to me when I was born.
Oh, yeah, because as I said, I'm 50, right? I was hiding in a closet, and this is the exciting part, that we are turning this around. It's about being proud of it. It's about owning that identity and rocking that beautiful difference. And that is quite new. I mean, Adam, if I think about you, where are you identifying with what Lachi is talking about? You know, we've all talked, we all have this about the inspiring piece, like we all do, right? It makes us go, ooh. Where are you in positioning on how the disability pride piece is, how it's part of what you do? And then I'm coming back to you because I want another question on disability actors and how we portray. But where are you on what Lachi's speaking about?
I wholeheartedly agree. And during COVID, I helped set up a consultancy business where we go into medium to large tech companies and help streamline their D&I training, disability and recruitment. And very often when those conversations are had, they're had a lot further forward than the audience is. You're not meeting the audience where they are. And they're also being led by predominantly non-disabled people. So you're losing it at both ends of that scale. And often when you go in, people are very uncomfortable just around the word disability. And I think we need to make disability an acceptable word. And as you said earlier, compliance an unacceptable one. And if you can't get if people won't say the word, how are they going to treat the community? So it's all about stripping this conversation right back and saying, it's okay to say disability. How does it make you feel right now? How have people be able to lovingly address their misconceptions, misgivings, and how it makes them feel, and lead them through it? Because I think a lot of this comes down to people's anxieties, misgivings, because we're trying to undo years of misrepresentation and misinformation around disability, and that's not going to happen overnight. But I also think people get disability and inability confused. And the only way we're going to separate that is to give disabled talent a platform to shine. And as was said earlier, companies like Sony are being told that they don't have that bank of talent. And I would say, well, that who sorts that? It's out there. I know it's out there because I talk to them on a daily basis, and I go out drinking with them on a regular basis. and I always, it's this, and what the campaign panels like this are a real double-edged sword. Because on one hand, I want to get fully behind the disability pride movement and have the conversations and move this industry forward and stop the talking and start the walking. But on the other hand, I also have this slight righteous indignation that it isn't my problem to fix, it isn't my responsibility, rather, to fix a problem that I didn't create. And it's how do we reconcile both of those things, which are both true and can be true at the same time, and get there together as well. How do we have a difficult conversation in a loving way and yet still hold people accountable for all the nonsense that's come before it?
I love that, in a loving way. It's true. It's true. But can I
say something really?
Yes, knock yourself out, Lachi, get in there.
You said we should jump in and
I am asking you to jump in. Go for it, lady. Go on.
Okay, so first of all, I second everything that Adam said, but I want to say one quick thing on inspiration, because let's just set the record straight here. Inspiration is a great word.
It is. Okay. It's from spirit, by the way, which is a good thing. You know
what? Look, being able to inspire others in this short life is a huge honor. But, the trouble is that the word inspired is being misused, in my opinion. So when people say, oh, I'm inspired, I don't think that they recognize or realize that they're not actually using the right word. Because when they're referring to disability culture, they're not being inspired. Here's a great example. So that's come out of Ramped, which is the music community of disabled folks. Here's one of the biggest complaints. So let's say you see an artist in a wheelchair that's struggling to get out on stage, and then they make it. and you're not witnessing something inspirational. What you're witnessing is social discrimination. What you're witnessing is would you say, oh, how cute, to witnessing systemic oppression? You wouldn't. So,
No.
The response should not be, the response shouldn't be, oh, how beautiful. It should be, who at the venue should I speak to about this oppression I'm witnessing? Your response should be, why am I at a venue that supports social discrimination? Inspiration requires action. I was inspired by Alicia Keys to become a recording artist. I was inspired by the lack of results when I went on Google search of disability in music to found Ramped and put together the coalition. So when you are inspired, what action are you inspired to take? If none, you aren't inspired. You're just a witness in a backseat. So I just wanted to get that off my chest.
Come on.
Completely.
Yes, we should be doing this live, guys. We should be doing this live. Get in there. Go on.
I completely agree. When disabled people overcome culture society, we're not being inspiring. We are being oppressed.
Yes,
absolutely. And when a person with a wheelchair has to make it to the top floor of an accessible building, like you say, that's not inspiring. That's a colossal screw up on someone else's part. Bringing me the head of that person on a silver platter.
Yes.
Okay,
and I would
Keely,
also say,
Keely, but like you think about the work that you've done, and if I get your story correct, please just tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, one of the reasons that you do see talent is because of exactly what the guys are speaking about. It's exactly what Lachi and Adam are speaking to. You were trying to right a wrong, essentially, but you're also now making a business out of it because there's a yearning for this, right?
Absolutely. And I would say, I don't want people to be afraid of being inspired by disabled people, but get it right. Like, don't just be inspired by a disabled person because of something, just because of the society's barriers and the things that we have to come up against, but be inspired by a disabled person because they're genuinely doing something friggin' awesome. Yeah. Like, I think that's the problem that we face. But yeah, I think as soon as companies hire us, fund us, listen to us, when they've got that openness to actually listen to what we have to say, and they don't see investing in disability as a risk, when they look at not investing in disability as the risk, then we can really make them and have them be the leaders and have them making the right change
and pay us. So can I just be really honest here? Yes. We were talking about the business of disability representation, right, guys? This is, I don't know, I guess all of us have gone through this. Do you know when you used to be asked on panels and it was like considering, oh, well, we'd love your point of view and you have a disability and blah, and you're going, and? Yep. That hour or those 2 hours? So what I think is getting exciting, and this is why I'm really interested, Keely, in what you're doing, what Zebedee Management are doing, what our friends in Purple Goat are doing, is that it's like, excuse me, talent, you don't get that for free, man. You don't. And there's, this is the piece that's starting to change. Are you guys seeing that change, or is that me being, hopeful? Are you seeing that people are willing to put their money where their mouth is? Are we?
Slowly but surely. I mean, I don't think we would have built a 7-figure business this year without it, but it's not without the fight. It's not without going back and forth with these companies, going back and forth with brands and being like, no, this is how much my client is worth. Like, no, this is how much you're going to pay my client. It's a fight every single negotiation. I mean, even people coming to us and partners and companies going to us and being like, you know what, I think you should be a nonprofit or a charity. I think you'd be better that way.
All the time. I'm just like, what? Yeah. I'm also thinking, sorry, I'm just going to, I will always put two together with Ramped. And I'm thinking about Sony, to Adam's point, the talent is out there. It's nearly like joining the dots. And this is what we want to do with the Media Hub, is find a way to help that talent get out there. Because we're not the consultants, we're not the Keelys. What we're trying to do is to find this kind of resource hub, essentially, and make it to get all that talent to place so that companies don't have any more excuses, right? No more excuses. And onto the no more excuses. There's two things I want to ask you, all of you, about. One is the issue, Adam, I'm going to come to you about this kind of everlasting thing about non-disabled actors and actresses taking on the disabled roles. Where do we stand on that one? Where do you stand on that?
I have this argument all the time, and it's come up again. Eddie Redmayne recently said that he regarding his film The Danish Girl, that he did it, but now regards it as a mistake, playing a trans character, and he was oddly quiet about the Stephen Hawking's role he played at around the same time. And the actor from Succession, Brian Cox, recently said he said two things, both of which wound me up slightly. He said that it might be exploitation, to which my response is, how about you let disabled actors decide for themselves when they are or are not being exploited, Brian, and you keep your opinion to yourself on that one. And also that it dilutes the craft of acting. And I think saying that a disabled actor playing a disabled character dilutes the craft of acting is a very one-dimensional way of looking at disability and disabled people. Going back to Brian Cox, I'm pretty certain he plays an old white man in anything he's ever been in, and he himself is an old white man. So that his argument doesn't pass its own test.
Yeah, good point.
And falls under the weight of its own stupidity. And I think casting directors and studios need to be held accountable for things like this. What disabled actors do you know? What disabled actors did you find? What disabled actors did you see? Could you not be bothered to get off your backside and go and look for disabled talent? Because again, it is out there, and the assumption that it isn't, or it's going to be hard to find, is ridiculous. You just don't know where to look.
That's the argument we have around employment, Adam, in general, not just about acting. So we still have this stuff that's around, well, we would employ disabled people in our businesses if we can find them. So I mean, seriously.
Hey, we're right here, baby. Right here. Adam Pearson, baby. So no, then look harder.
Well, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, lift up the bonnet. Like, and can I just say, we all know that between 12 to 15% of our companies already have people who have invisible disability. I mean, this has been proven time and time again. So just like, come on.
It's ridiculous. Like one in 5 people in the UK have a disability. You could go to Starbucks with a net and statistically find one to work in your, even on bare math alone, find one that could work in your company. But also, where are they working? I'm getting slightly bored of these schemes where we try and get disabled people in low-level jobs but with no career progression. And I want to get to a point where we're going from putting disabled people in jobs to putting disabled talent in careers. And until we have disabled voices at the top of companies going, I wouldn't do that if I were you, then nothing's going to change.
Tell me about it.
Strong voices to hold people accountable.
It's one of our other areas that we're trying to do, is get disabled talent at the top of the business. If you can get at the top.
Because then nothing changes. Like the BBC, for example. I'm bored of the disability conversation. I'm bored of saying all the metrics are going to get better, and then the metrics not getting better. Because when you look at the words and you look at the numbers, they don't match up, which either means you're lying, you don't care, or you're incompetent. Those are the only 3 options available at this point in time. Which is it?
Well, I mean, we asked you to be challenging, so I think, but you're right. It's time to get off the fence. And for me, Lachi, for a second, if we cross into your world, and you spoke about languages inspiring. The other piece connecting to this conversation is the language. It's the languaging around this. A thing, I don't know, you finding this as artists or Keely within your business. Finally, this conversation about language and disability. So we've had a lot of conversations that I get onto calls, and they call it diffability or ability or disability. Lachi, come on, give it to me. What's going on? What are you saying? And I really want to hear this. No, hold on, let Lachi speak. So Lachi, come on, tell me.
Already, I'm going to say this right now. Keely already knows what I'm going to say.
Okay, go. Well, I want to hear it, and Adam wants to hear it, so let's go.
I've had this conversation with her so many long nights, but it's like, listen, I have a disability. I am disabled. Just like I am African American, if you took the African out, then I'm just American, you're taking away a part of the way I identify. If you take the dis out of disability and only focus on the ability, you are taking away my identity. Why are you washing away my identity? It's like taking the w out of woman and only focusing on the man part. Disability is one word. It is an identity. Don't take it away. Differently abled, handicapped, all of these euphemistic words. Why are you euphemizing? I'm not sure if euphemizing is a word, but why are you?
We'll make it one.
Why are you euphemizing the word disability? There's nothing wrong with it for you to need to euphemize. You don't need to tiptoe around. So right now I'm wearing a gold ring. You wouldn't say like she's wearing a yellowish ring because the word gold is weird. The word gold is just as normal and natural as the word disability. We all come in different forms and shapes in our bodies. And, you know, at one day you identify as a baby. The next time you identify as a toddler. The next time you identify as an adult. Why can't one day you identify as sighted? And then as you grow, you identify as blind. These are just different identities, which is fine. And I want to say a couple of things that I thought about when Adam was doing that beautiful preach rant response.
Yes, love.
Firstly, I'm going to say I almost teared up at the word, oh, if we bring a disabled talent on, we'll be exploiting them. Okay, first of all, there's just so many isms that come to mind with that. When we talk about dealing with,
that's somebody ringing going, "Hi, we've got a job for you."
Oh my God. So
yes,
my husband is he's probably ordering food. But you know, when you say you might be exploiting the talent, this is something Sia said also with music, right? She felt that it would be exploitation by using this talent. Oh my God.
Do you need to get the food and I can hop on to Keely? No, this is the life. Okay, Keely, while we're coming back to that, I just want to flip what Adam said and I'm going to do it the other way. So do you think as an agent and a manager that people would come to you for disabled talent only for disabled positions? So I want to see the flip side now. What do you think?
Oh, so we do. I mean, I think we spend the majority of our time doing outreach. Like our goal is to make sure that disabled people aren't just only, you know, out there being experts in subjects that are disability related. We want to normalize disabled people being experts in subjects beyond disability. Get disabled people placed in all roles, because it's so often forgotten that we are the entrepreneurs, the mothers, the fathers, and all of the other different things that comes along with just being human. And I think so oftentimes production companies, stories focus on disability being the most interesting thing about a person. And it's not. It's probably the least interesting thing about me.
Although it's actually the most interesting thing about me, like being blind. Just want to throw that out
there. Same. This face interesting, Keely.
I love it.
But you see, this is the thing. We all have a lived experience and we all have this different sort of way of relating to it, which is the exciting bit, right?
Absolutely. And going back to the disabled people, non-disabled people playing disabled roles, I do think, you know, disability is not a technical skill one can learn. It's a lived experience. You can't learn how to play disabled or be disabled. You just can't. It's not a technical skill.
Great insight. Say that again. Say it again so we can hear it. It is not a technical skill. It's a lived experience.
Yeah.
There you go, lady. There you go, lady.
You know, also that statistic of 1 in 5 or 1 in 4, those are actually pre-pandemic. But B, I continue to find that people don't actually, because disability, it's not discussed enough. People don't realize or recognize that they do have a disability, or what they have can be considered a disability. And as the stigma clears, as the cultural aspects grow, I've been seeing people going, well, I have such and such, and I've been dealing with such and such, but I didn't know that I had a disability. Mm-hmm. And there is a difference between just having a disability and identifying as disabled. Those are two different paths. But it is really important for folks to recognize. Here's a great stat that I learned from one of the folks at the IPC, Tim Reddish, actually, that after the Brazilian Olympics, and after they saw how amazing all of the folks were the registry increased of people registering as a person with a disability. So the more we see disability positively portrayed or portrayed at all, folks go, hey, that is me. I am done hiding behind who I am, and I want to register.
Yes, and I mean, that's the relief of not having to be hiding parts of ourselves just as human beings, but the permission it gives for everybody to be what they need to be themselves. Now, I'm getting flashcards here going, you need to stop talking. So, okay, this is killing me. Can we do this again? All there out in the universe, we are coming to a stage with, I think it wouldn't be great to have a full open conversation with a room full of people. I would love to bring you guys back to do that. But as we come over, I'm going to give you each, you get 30 seconds to say what you want from the valuable 500 companies to increase a better disability representation in the business of talent. Tell them what you want. You get 30 seconds. So who am I going to go to first? I am going to go to Lachi. Go on. Off you go. 30 seconds.
Well, I want to thank you so much for having me. Please reach out to ramped.org. We are an amazing group of musicians. But I think the one thing that I really want to say to all of you companies is to listen. Disability is very whitewashed. We need to consider intersectionality. Disability justice was developed by a group of folks who were Black, brown, queer, and trans in Patty Byrne and Mia Mingus and Stacey Milburn. They began this movement, and they were women of color who identified differently. So please recognize the intersectionality that comes with disability when you're making these decisions. Thank you so much for having me. Check me out at ramped.org. I would love, love, love to work with you further.
Oh, well, we would love, love, love to work with you. Yes, Queen. Thank you so much. Adam, you get 30 seconds. What is it that you want from these valuable 500 companies representing 21 million employees, and they've got loads of revenue, supply chains? Come on, what do you want?
I think the time for talking is over, and the time for action has truly begun. And if you're confused as to what actions you need to take, or if you're confused as to where your company culture is in terms of disability, reach out. There's a whole plethora of disabled talent out there who, contrary to what HR may say, aren't hard to find, and hold each other accountable. And the real incentive I want to give you is be the first. Be the company that everyone else looks at and say they nailed it. Because at the moment, you've got the pick of the crop. You've got the pick of the best disabled people out there, to come and join your company. So be the change that you want to see, and have your metrics meet your mantra.
Ooh, love it.
Mic drop. Because everything that we're doing in this campaign, it's disability inclusion now. So Keely, you get 30 seconds. You've got 500 companies here. Okay. What do you want from them?
I would say stop blaming your fear. Fear does get in the way, but stop blaming that. Stop creating this atmosphere where you're just scared to say the wrong thing. None of us are going to get mad at you for saying the wrong thing if you say it with the right intentions and in a room with disabled people who can correct you, and you're paying them to be there to correct you. But we are going to get very mad at you if the wrong thing gets out in front of millions and millions of people. So hire us, fund us, and repeat.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Can I just say, thank you to the amazing Adam, the amazing Keely, the amazing Lachi. You know what? We got to do this again, and we got to blow this up. This is talent. This is business in action. Valuable 500 companies. Here you are. You've got the talent, you've got the business mind, and you have got the innovation here to differentiate your business. Be the first. Don't let fear get in the way, because I think for us, you're going to be behind the curve. So a huge thank you to you all. I wish I could hug you, and I wish I could see you. But thank you. Happy IDPD.
You as well.
Thank you.